There is no doubt that something's going on in the world today, and you feel it. You know it, and it has something to do, most of you, with scripture, what's going on, when was Armageddon, and things like that. And the very recentness of everything is only recently coming into perspective. And I'll beg your indulgence with me tonight because I'm going to go over what I had today. And I had a very busy day interacting with people as the prophet, as the one waiting for the prophecies of Daniel 12 and knowing we have to have another 20 years, but the cities are going to have a plasma fire. That's all still right there. But before I show you the disclaimer, I want to let you know this was not my plan. 15 years ago, people may search my life and go back and say, well, obviously he was consistently trying to find the truth of Jesus Christ, but he never called himself a prophet, never said the stones are crying out, listen to me, God showed me this, that, or the other thing. But right now, thousands of people are making a living off of the golden age past and teaching different aspects of it. Well, there's been one consistent thing, and I'm going to go back over it tonight with the Charlie Kirk, the Donald Trump, remnants of 9/11, racist, one drop rules. If you looked white, it didn't matter. They could sell you into slavery and they didn't bat an eye if they were related to you. They were breeding white people to sell. That means they were selling their relatives. Anybody can jump on that link I put in today. It's a little bit something new right there. Here you go. That's sharing it right now. And then I don't know how many pictures I saved, but probably a few. Let's see. Well, that's from the other day. Here, I know this one's pretty new. These are the Boston Brahmins. They say these were the rich people, and I'm saying these were the importers, Freemasons that they gave land to. Not a very good picture. Can't really make out too much. Looks like a Union Jack, but it's not. Anybody know what this is? See where my mouse is? Is that a semaphore? Is that how they? But I know this is how they used to send messages to other towns or other boroughs. They were always communicating long distance. Land warrant office number 229. Notice the within, the W looks a little bit funny. This is one where the S's sometimes are F's, right here where my mouse is. Said person is given 200 acres in the Virginia because he served underneath a sergeant that recommended him. He's not one of the guys that got 20,000 acres, but there you go. This is 200 acres for the forever. I got to look up this one here per member. So let me just see what we got here. However, the first land grant right here, bill introduced 1857, passed in 1859, vetoed, resubmitted 1861. Abraham Lincoln signed the Morrill Act into law in 1862. The law gave every state and territory 30,000 acres per member of Congress to be used in establishing a land grant university, 17 million acres. So they had to go and find the schools, emphasize the federal lands were purchased from indigenous people and then taken over. Now, our reality is such that wherever there were mud flood buildings, when they were passing these laws early in the horse, cart, donkey era, they knew they had to go to these places that had mud flood buildings. They knew they had to establish a university, like the university in Colorado Springs or the University of it's Mudflood, and it was built before there was a state or a territory. Everything in your mind has to wash over you as it's part of the cover up. It's part of Satan got a group of people, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Light of the Golden Dawn, and put them on a task. And they were all Freemasons under threat of death. You tell on us, we'll kill your family. It's another word for mafia. The mafia. Key quotes: the unwarranted exercise of power by the court, contrary to the Constitution, is creating chaos and confusion in the states principally affected. It is destroying the amicable relations between the white and the Negro races that have been created through the past 90 years of patient effort by the good people. So they were saying, look, we have black people that are Prince Hall Freemasons that have it under control. We're going to be able to, they'll know their place. But it wasn't enough. Their water fountain didn't have muddy water. Wow. I just found out cheese isn't really cheese. Butter isn't really butter. Uh, Mostly yogurt isn't yogurt. It's something to do with E. coli and the generally accepted, generally recognized as safe. Pfizer was behind that in 1990. I found out today where all of the non GMO, GMO, and it's from Max German. He figured it out, and I'm sharing it. So if you want anything real, it has to say animal rennet, calf rennet, traditional rennet. Otherwise, if it says enzymes, it's not real cheese. And cheese, man, it's a big deal in this world. I kid you not. Hey, I looked at this, a brick wall, one subscriber. It wasn't me. I didn't even give him a thumbs up. All I did was, what 1870 brick wall? Who are the Boston Brahmins? This guy is supposedly, with his one subscriber, acting like he's related to this person. Total computer.
Deliberate metaphor for his family's journey. Concrete stands for the modern, built environment of urban California, where the family now resides. Loam, that dark, rich, fertile soil, represents their ancestral roots, deep tied to erase these exact types of blended families from the historical record. Mapping a family tree backward hits the 1870 brick wall, the first census recording formerly enslaved Black Americans by name. Before 1870, tracing enslaved ancestors means searching property ledgers.
Yeah, you just keep it like it is. Count the black people as livestock and part of your equipment, and hide them from the census. I don't trust these censuses.
Human beings were reduced to anonymous tallies, counted alongside livestock. Decades later, the Jim Crow era compounded this erasure. Southern states enforced a strict black and white racial binary.
So the one subscriber in Paris Dowels has a whole the computer, the AI got this one for you. I'm surprised, they took 2 minutes of information stretched at six. Usually they could make this last an hour. I see Congress is saying to YouTube, you got to stop letting those people make computer animated. It's ruining the only left platform left.
Stripped them of their tribal identities, reclassifying them simply as colored on all census and tax documents. The state's paper trail effectively wiped out their native heritage. The only reason the Dowells family retains their indigenous identity today is because defiant grandmothers and family matriarchs refuse to stop telling their own stories. The family
I'm going to tell my own story.
Ohio, migrating north to escape Jim Crow violence and find industrial work. To navigate the hostility of the United States, this Caribbean bloodline masked its origins on paper, weaving itself directly into the macro-historical movement of the Great Migration. The paternal side of the family introduces an
It's got 22 views. It's hard to get one view on YouTube.
Ireland, the Appalachian Cherokee territories, and France. These bloodlines converged in the Deep South, before a single descendant line traveled westward to San Diego, California. Which brings us back to Pierre L. Dowells Jr. and the formation of Loam and Concrete LLC. The name on the LLC paperwork operates as a monument. It recognizes the survival of the Mercier, Comer, Thrasher, and Moore lines against centuries of economic displacement.
Somehow, these are, they might have some, it's possible maybe they got some black blood or something. One drop rule was in effect, but they worked their way into being a very prominent builder. I know that Thomas Jefferson was raping black people, selling them, but the ones closest to him, he kept and he freed them after he died. And they passed as white. They didn't go, oh, we're slaves. They got away with that one drop rule and were excluded in all those laws, like the Pocahontas exception. Some people were going like, but I was on the Mayflower and that was different. That was Native American royalty. It's racist. I know people don't want to hear it. You want to avoid getting views on YouTube? Hint that there might be racism in white America. Let's look at a couple of Bible verses before we go into a long. Well, I don't want to discourage you, but if you're easily discouraged, we're looking at judgment now. It looks like judgment, condemnation, judgment, the damnation, the sentence of hell, the justice of hell. Okay, I got there from here, and inasmuch it is appointed that men are going to die one time, after that they will judgment. Straight up. This before the court. You're going to, and you're going to give your excuses, but it is appointed. It's laid up. This is that silly helper who said, I didn't do anything, but I kept your coin. We have hope laid up in heaven. It will not use that much. There's an appointed time laid up for certain people who don't let go of the plow. I think I already had that. So is this another word for Zoe, or is it like Zoe? It's like Zoe. It's a type of life, living, not live on bread alone. If you can put your hand on my daughter, she will live. I'd hear you by the living God while he was yet alive. Let's see where we're at. John 5:29. Do not be amazed at this, for the hour is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice, and they will rise again. Those who have done good, because this is after you're born again or not, to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to that judgment, that whatever you got laid up. And now, just a little nick, a little hit on the Pope and the absolute ridiculousness of everything they do. And priests can't get married. No, no. Paul didn't get married. Peter didn't get married. All the scriptures that talk about the Virgin Mary after Christ arrived without sexual union, she did continue to have children the normal way with Joseph. But this word, when Paul goes on, I went to Jerusalem and I apologized to Peter for being in charge of the group that killed his friend. And I saw no one else besides Peter. I saw none of the other apostles except James, the Lord's brother. Oh, I have that one laid up still. So there are a lot of, there are few words for brother, but can you remember this part of this word? Adelphion or Adelphoi. It's like a plural, and they're really, there's a few. Let me slide down, but not that many. So do you remember that? It kind of looks like this. Then there's the plural. But there are certain ones where it's literal kinship, where they know it's talking about, and they did this. This was that person's parent. This was that person. It means it was this word, and those are in there. James, Joseph, Judas, and Simon. He had other brothers. It's just my way of reminding everything the Pope and those people are going to tell anybody is messed up. But you're laying up by building up gold, silver, and precious stones. Let's read the Bible verse. Un momento. Oh, it's not going back. So we're going to just go right here. We're going to be moving on, hitting it.
This is what they're saying. So cost versus savings. This is going to take a look at a 50 camera system. So this company is saying you need 50 cameras to really make money back on your investment. They're saying that after 5 years, you're going to make 1.8 times your original investment because of seizures. So when a crime is committed and criminal is apprehended, that evidence or whatever it is comes back to the city can sell that and they can get money. But look at you guys. So the total 5-year cost is $715,000, but the 5-year realistic value is $1.27 million, and they based it off of stolen vehicles, 35 a year.
Is there planning on paying for your flock spy cameras by seizing property? Mitch, wake up. Give us some information. I got to keep rolling.
Works. So in this case, with these cameras, you're giving up your rights with no notice, no opportunity to cure. You didn't vote for this. Your tax dollars are paying for it. And it's an illegal mechanism of search and seizure. This is the definition of insanity.
Well, if the shoe fits, I wonder if I got to remind Operation Flavius. When did this Protestant Catholic, it used to be a big thing, and the governments used to spy on people, and then they killed 3 people and found out, the bomb wasn't with them. Although there had been no conspiracy, the planning and control of the operation was so flawed as to make the use of lethal force almost inevitable. You can pick this up, but it's one of the ones, but you know, it was on the Rock of Gibraltar, and I hadn't heard about it. And so I'm suspicious. I'll bet it's one of those things computers are talking about recently on the YouTube. We'll see. I'll search it and see if Operation Flavius is getting any new information. Well, there's one 2 days ago. 27, 3 years ago, that's not that new. 9 years ago, that's the one I checked out. 1 year ago. Well, I guess there's only the one that's 2 days ago. Filters. Let's say if there's any this month alone. 5 days ago. Flavius, March 18, 1988. 9 days ago. Let's do the
On the 6th of March, 1988, 3 people walked through the streets of Gibraltar on a warm Sunday afternoon. They looked like tourists. They moved at the pace of people with nowhere to be. Nothing about them suggested that they were 3 of the most experienced active service operators the Provisional IRA had ever deployed, or that they were there to plant a bomb that would kill dozens of British soldiers in front of their families the following Tuesday. Following them at a distance in civilian clothes were members of the SA.
1988. Reagan was leaving office. George Bush Sr.
Threat. Sean Savage.
You know, Bernadette Dorn and Bill Ayers, they teach, and they picked one of their students, Barack Obama, for being a genius and said, you should be running for president. And after they had been on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list, they were ended up professors back at Chicago University. These guys, their future didn't pan out like that. But this was 1988, and they're still, you didn't let Catholics join the Boston Brahmin country clubs. We'll look at some of those and their cemeteries.
53 years old, also from Belfast. Assessed by intelligence as the most technically capable of the 3 with explosives. He would drive the car bomb into position.
Anyway, they never made it. The car was 200 miles away when they got killed. Somehow they messed up.
Something else. A bomb that didn't go off. 3 operators who had done this before and would have done it again.
Yeah, I'm losing interest. It's just 1988. There's always been this. And people living, at 8,000 feet, Bodie became a boom town. 2,000 structures, 8,000 people. Saying there had to be people everywhere in the West. I mean, how do you get that? Look at that pool table. Yeah, we're in Bodie, but we got this pool table and these mirrors. We'll stay warm. And I don't know. Was this, and it was built for the people out east to make money. They had some buildings they had to go to and say, here's the mines. They knew where everything was. Now, I saw a video on this and I thought you might find it interesting. Trying to put in perspective some of these dates one of these old spooky graveyards. Church of the Transfiguration, Chamberlain, Lexi Cinema. That's a primary school of something back in the day. Now this is what the Kensal Green Cemetery. They didn't dig this one up. They didn't build over this one. And this is mostly Freemason, occult, fortune spent. There are some people who speculate they took the top off of cathedrals and used them as their graves. The Egyptian. This is for the landed gentry, the people who got paid to come here and started. Their names are still famous. And it's so much more fancy than they're making it out. And I don't know if any of them were real Christians. Well, that'll be left up to God, but certain cemeteries got dug up and certain cemeteries didn't. Opened in 1833. 33 species of bird and other wildlife mausoleums. One of the magnificent 7 cemeteries in London. So it's not in the United States, but the Freemasons had them all. Really, you can't show any. They got them like this. 1833, 1837. So they really hit the ground running. Satan used them, and these look like rewritten. Those do not look original. What's this one say? Well, it looks real. I'm not sure about the 1888. That'd be 50 years. Let's move on. Let's see what else I got here. Corrales, New Mexico. They had their water shut off today. That's why I looked them up. There is suburb. They have 8,000 people. Look at this. It's like, I think that's Santa Fe. Albuquerque. Yeah, the Rio Grande is running dry. They told you can't water your yards, you can't do anything, but it was a 1710 grant to a corporal. Another one, oh, you served as a corporal, we'll give you a few hundred acres, here you go. And we recommend going to New Mexico because that's where the underground fake atomic weapons and a lot of stuff is going to be going on there. And they had to make money for these people. The Boston Brahmin from Boston Common, the WASP, the White Anglo-Saxon Protestants. And these people, Oliver Wendell Holmes, you'll recognize their names, or some of them. That's Beacon Hill. There's the Massachusetts State House. Sam Adams, I know some of you have sampled his namesake beer. Founding father, Freemason, Lowell, Appleton. I'm thinking Appleton, Wisconsin off the top of my head. Robert Bacon, the Bacons, the Bates, the Buckinghams. There's one I'm not that familiar with. Look at a young Coolidge, Presidents, Cooper, Crown Shield, Cushing, Dudley. Let me just show you to you this way. They're everywhere. They're all the names that made the United States. They were all landed gentry. Now, like in the Bible, what they used to have was, remember the prodigal son? He was the younger one. Give me part of my inheritance, but the older one was going to get the farm and everything. They'd all get something. A lot of them would do some work. They'd get landed gentry. They'd be given land as second or third sons, but they still would get an inheritance and a couple hundred acres. And they'd be moved to a place in reset world where there was already mounds, pyramids, brick structures, stone buildings that they had to say we occupied and we've been here forever. I guess it's easier to sell. I mean, I bought it hook, line, and sinker. It was these guys. They were living the American dream. They were the American gentry. Well before the 1776. 1711 was when they had put in your sickle and reap. Another, I know you don't want to look at me, but I have to tell you this. There was at least Noah's flood. There was a voided earth. There was Noah's flood. There was Armageddon. And then there was a worldwide reaping of the good grapes and the bad grapes, the wheats and the tares. God said to two angels, put in your sickle and reap. After the 1,000 years, there were staggering fugitives, not even a remnant, released in 1711 based on the prophecies in chapter 12 of Daniel. That's where all this is. It's not 1776. These landed gentry, these American Boston Brahmins, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, came to the United States because they weren't the firstborns, but they had some money and they had some ambition. And there sure is a lot of citations hidden about their families, isn't there? Here, Robert E. Lee, your family gets this house because you're so good at fighting the Spanish. Hey, Tubby, what do you got? Oh, okay. So all of those were there. They didn't build those in the early 1700s. It was a plan by Satan, the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, the Crowleys, and everyone else to use it. It's a gift. Here you go. The feudal system is over. We don't need 3,000 feudal systems, each taking care of themselves. What we need is nations. Satan's loose. For 1,000 years, he couldn't deceive nations. So when he was loose, he needed to create them to get them where we are today. It's not only in the United States, it was in Rome, Australia. Railroads were the main people who got given land. They built towns. People moved there. Yeah, because there were buildings there. It's all fake. Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, and everywhere else. Here's the ones I'm dealing with. I know people that have land, that live on land, that was part of a land grant. The public land survey system, it's not that old. These were all land grants, and then they're going to need to educate the people after they honestly, biologically warfare, kill up to 95%. We'll never know. But they had a plan. They were going to survey the land, and now they're sucking the water out of the ground, out of the aqueducts. They're not doing it right. They have these surveys, 15, 16. That's where the public schools are. Center Street, Main Street. It's all new. It's all new. Here's where the red dots are, 1862. Well, Colorado State University, there wasn't even a territory, was barely started. It didn't become a state until 1876. There's one down here in New Mexico. Wherever there were buildings, they had to go and say, "Oh yeah, we're going to start a town there for sure. And we're going to fund it, and we're going to call it normal schools." And the normal school, the Hatch Act, and the expansion was a worldwide event. They started teaching everyone the globe. Look at there. You don't have to look far to see back in the early days, there were star forts. This is a map of the old. You can see it's one giant star fort. And there's the mounds for the people left behind. We'll look at that Governor's Island, un momento. Where they did the 9/11 thing. Here's where the star forts were. Looking at lower Manhattan. Quite the lie, quite the cover up. Governor's Island. Rich people go there. It's not that big. There's the original island. Really? That's a TIFF file. That means it's huge, but look at Starfort building, promenades. So this was somebody's little private Versailles. Probably goes way underground also. Yeah, Fort J, that's part of their situation. Everything, it's all part of the same situation. And the same situation seems the world needed normal schools to deal with how come you need white teachers, black teachers, white baseball teams, black baseball teams, white football, same thing. No Catholics joined the clubs for the WASP. No Jews joined the clubs for the WASP. Yet somehow they all got along and made it to where we could have it today. And they're happy with where they are today. They think Satan has it good. But in our country, really, Brown versus Board of Education, that wasn't until 1953 when we said, what do you mean we have to share schools with black people? Separate but equals working. You've seen they have water fountains, but we have water fountains. They have schools and we have schools. Everything's fine. They fought it and fought it. But Satan had a different plan after 9/11 to where they're going back underground and they're going to get people fighting over common sense. You usually don't get one thing overturned. They appeal it directly to the Supreme Court and it's 9-0. However, the 14 pages didn't say what you can do to end it. They just said, yeah, you're right. Go fight it out till 1964. But who were this was a big deal. And it's not that long ago. Was Harry Bird involved in it? And Harry Bird and the Bird family, they are definitely one of those Boston Brahmin things. And, they faked Admiral Byrd. You all know what that is. This Byrd was in there from 1933. And he was a known racist, Ku Klux Klan, ran for president, but everybody loved him. He was the longest serving senator from Alabama. And even though he was, hated by everything because he was a racist, avowed white separatist, thought they were animals, he still kept getting voted in all the way. 79, died from a brain tumor. Turned out he liked black women, had kids with them. They're connected with the John Birch Society, the assassination of Kennedy. These guys are way deep in it, the Byrd family. The whole Southern Manifesto that he wrote in 1956, signed by 19 senators and 82 representatives, who basically said, yeah, we know the Supreme Court just said it's bad, but we just want to get it out there that says, no, we shouldn't have to segregate. We need the Jim Crow laws. What's happening to America? But look, Al Gore Sr. didn't vote for it. And the Kefauver, didn't he have those Senate hearings trying to expose the mafia? They did. But the Supreme Court is cooked. When it went to the Supreme Court, they lost, but they said, well, this was part of their we pledge ourselves to use all lawful means to bring about a reversal of this decision, which is contrary to the Constitution, which meant that, yeah, we're all created equal, but black people don't go to school with white people. They are inferior. Everything was based on evolution. What was it? Who was the guy that actually went to court? Plessy and Ferguson dealing with the Massachusetts Supreme Court. If I'm not sharing, I'll be upset. Good. Separate but equal. It didn't work. We're still dealing with it today, to where unfortunately my dad, we didn't want to hear about, we didn't own no slaves. We work harder. We work smarter. Oh, okay. All right. Who was the man? The Roberts. The 1954 case. His daughter. First time that something was successful since 1855 of bringing the issue to the state legislator. One of 12 children. His father was a servant to Nathan Appleton. I remember that from the Boston Brahmin. And his father wrote How to Be a Good House Servant When You're Working for Rich Boston Brahmins in 1827. One of the first books written by an African American be published. So other African Americans could say, you should be happy to serve your master. This is the best we could do. Here's what you need to do. Oh, man. The American Colonization Society for the free people of color. They fought hard. We're free too. We're free too. But eventually something happened, and they don't give the exact date. But when you look up in Wikipedia the one drop rule, everything lost, everything went. It was prominent in the 1900s, and it asserted that if you even had one drop of black blood, you're a Negro. We don't care how white you are, and if you pretend to be white, you're going to jail. How do you like them apples? Well, even after 64, it was still used to prevent interracial marriages. This didn't go away. Invisible blackness. They have one drop of blackness. I can't play baseball. My son can't play baseball with him. But we have Candace Owens and all the Catholics, and they're going to be coming up with the alien Noahide laws, everything else. Michael the Archangel, when dealing with the devil, he was discussing, this means discussing, of what to do with the body of Moses. They were fighting over it. And Michael didn't bring a railing accusation against him, because that would have been blasphemy, not the blasphemy to rebuke him in the name of the Lord, because this blasphemious. There's one where, well, that's that word. It's against a God. I really think that we need to, it's going to be there. It's always going to be there. We missed it. There were other Elohim. Satan probably was an Elohim. They were given a chance in physical world to see how they could do, but they failed. And we know it now. I don't agree with Michael Heiser on much, but this Psalm 82 now has become the lifted veil. These were, God has taken his place with the other Elohim. It was a divine council. This plural God took his stand, and he judges among other Elohim. It's the God. But you know that. But the real reminder is what the United States is doing, what men do. They get their gods and they show partiality to the wicked. They judge unjustly. Weak, poor people, orphans, you have no hope. They don't maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute, the weak and the needy. Who's going to deliver them from the hand of the wicked? Not those gods. They were the gods who played favoritism. And they believed, well, they're not real people. Look, this is a big deal. Dang it, the last part I didn't show. Psalm 82. It is a divine council. I've shown those words. He is in the midst of other Elohim holding judgment. They were showing partiality. They were not giving justice to the weak and the fatherless. They were treating people based on wrong information. There was the one drop rule. Nobody even knows, can you find out? Well, when did it pass? Illegal, prominent in. Where's the history of it? Oh, they had it in other countries. We exported it to the Nazis. No date on when it started. It became codified into the law in the early 1900s. Well, that's pretty vague. Crossed from 1600 to 1860, and then they justified it. They had to fight invisible blackness. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the part of our history that wants to be avoided at all costs by Donald Trump, MAGA, and even some of my friends. It can't be us. It has to be them. It can't be me. I don't have Nephilim blood. No, you're human. Humans were the reason for the flood. Man, the thoughts of man were constantly on evil and wickedness, not the Nephilim. They're selling you a lie, and all I want you to do is wake up and rejoice, glorify his name, realize he's lifted the veil. We know about the reset. We know we have warped and trained brains, but right now we don't care. His word's written on our heart. We're called, chosen, predestined, elect from before the foundation of the world to have good works to do that will glorify his name. That's scripture. You're not saved by those works, but after you're saved and you feel it written on your heart, 100% is the minimum. You don't want to be the person going, here's your coin back. I didn't want to do anything with my talents because my wife's sister thinks I'm stupid if I talk about it. things like that. But the facts remain. It's a flat earth nation. The golden age has passed because the mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends will never tell you anything else. We know we're called, chosen, predestined, elected to have your best interest at heart. Now, I wish I could say goodbye in every language. Amen, hallelujah, aho, aloha, arrivederci, ciao, sayonara, auf Wiedersehen, nakame. I know more, but those are the fun ones. From the border of southern Colorado and New Mexico, a place that it's going to be safe when the plasma fire starts. That's all I've got for now.